Something I'm really excited about this course is connecting with other students as we grow into this career together.
I'm most excited about connecting with other designers throughout this course, as well as really using Figma as a tool and hopefully becoming a Figma master.
I hope to gain new skills, meet new people, and just hopefully at the end of this land a job as a junior product designer.
I'm also really looking forward to have somebody give me live, actionable feedback on all the different case studies and designs that I will be putting together. I can't wait to get started.
Hello everyone, Madeline Sava. I run the education arm of Dribbble over here. It's so great to see everyone here to learn about our 16-week product design course taught by Jessie Showalter. So today we're going to hear from Jessie Showalter about the course. We're going to hear all the value of the course. We're going to hear a bit about the curriculum of the course. And also you guys get an opportunity to talk to Jessie face to face, ask any questions that you have, and really learn what you'll be taught in the course, and then see whether it's right for you. There are a lot of guys out there who are wanting to switch into the amazing industry of product design. So first things first, I'd love to see who we have in our audience. Put in the chat where you're joining from. Let us know what time it is there. And I also have a poll for you guys. What is your level of design experience? Are you a beginner? Do you know a bit about design, or are you an expert? If you're an expert, you should be up here instead of me. So we know we have 69% of people who know a bit about product design. We've got 14% who are a beginner and 17% who are an expert. Amazing. So like I said, we are going to be joined in a second by Jesse Showalter, who is the facilitator of the course. He created all the online and video content for the course. On top of his videos, which are about 1 to 2 hours per week, you're going to be joined by a mentor who will give you live teaching every single week, along with feedback on your portfolio projects, feedback on your assignments. You also get that Slack community, you get downloadable resources. So it's a really fun 16-week course. A bit about this platform. If you have any questions, we are going to be super interactive here. So put your questions in the question and answer panel of the chat. If you like a question, press the plus button and upvote it. The more votes a question has, the more likely it will get asked. If you run into any technical issues or have any questions at all, just DM me or press the help tab. You could also email education@dribbble.com if you have any questions of the course. As you guys are coming to this info session, we're going to give you all a 40% discount to the course. So this is a private link. Don't share with anyone, but it is especially for you as you've made the effort to come to this info session. If you're sharing this on social media, for sure tag Dribbble and tag Jessie Showalter. We love to see how you're watching this. Let's see in the chat here. We've got a folk from Chicago. We've got Bo from Berlin, Anja from Berlin, Philadelphia. Awesome. It's so great to see loads of people joining from all around the world. So thank you. Hey, Richard from Texas. Same as Jessie. We've got a lot of students from Texas, actually. Uruguay. Awesome. Okay, so that's enough from me. Without further ado, let's get Jessie Shellwalter up. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with him. He is an absolutely incredible online educator of design. He is a full stack designer and he's a front-end developer. He's worked with influential brands and clients such as Adobe, Sketch, Nike, Bravo, the list goes on. He's been in this field for 15 years and he is such a great teacher of design. And we're so grateful that he created this Dribbble 16-week course alongside us to help you guys learn the amazing skills to be a product designer. Without further ado, I'll get Jessie on stage.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited that you are here for this introduction to our 16-week Dribbble product design course. And I know there's actually a lot of people who have asked in the recent kind of past, or just even on this stream maybe already, I thought it was a 12-week course. Well, how did it go from 12 to 16? Well, let me tell you, we have already gone through one cohort. They did 12 weeks. And the feedback that we got from that cohort was, this was so good. We wish we had a little bit more time to dive deep. And we want this to be the absolute lights out best experience for you to learn digital product design. And so we extended it by 4 weeks. So we gave you some extra time. There are capstone projects. We don't want you to rush those. We want you to crush those. We want your case studies, your portfolios. We want all of that to be just as good as they possibly can be, because you're connected to hiring managers and a network of employers after you're done with the course. We also spend a lot more time now doing career prep and visual design and learning about systems. These are the things that are really popping in the industry, the things that really, really matter. So we wanted to slow it down a little bit more and let you dive in deeper with your mentors, with the curriculum. And so I'm excited you guys are here. I'm going to just share my screen really quickly, and you guys are going to be diving in with me, interactive today, because here's some of the things we're going to be talking about. The skills of becoming a digital product designer in 2022. Research and empathy. We talk about that in the course. How do you actually understand the problem? How do you understand the user's pain points, the user's needs? Because that's what we do. We don't create artwork. We solve problems as digital product designers. Process and leadership. You're going to learn a really well-rounded and structured design process, the product design cycle or process. You're going to learn that. It's not guesswork. It is a tried and true process, and you're going to learn how to lead that process. So you're not just somebody in the workplace who has to say yes, but somebody who can lead by challenging preconceived notions, by presenting, by asking good questions, and by really leading teams. You're going to learn, of course, visual design, UI patterns. We're going to be using Figma through the entire course. And like somebody in one of our past students in the testimonials that you just saw, we want you to become Figma masters. We want you to become Figma ninjas. It's an amazing tool. You can do everything. We're going to be using it in the course and today. We're going to learn about rapid prototyping and testing. What does that mean? Well, we want to get you as quickly as possible from concept to iteration to something you can actually click and interact with and test with people. Why? We want to stop there, test the hell out of it, and make sure it works really, really good, and it's actually solving the problem. And if it's not, then we haven't spent countless amounts of hours and time and finances and energy making this really beautiful thing. First, like Steve Jobs said, we want to make something that works before we make something that looks good. And so we're going to learn how to get to prototyping, testing, all inside of Figma. You're going to learn team skills and documentation. I did front-end development for years. What does it look like for you to actually hand off your design to engineering teams and not have them hate you, but actually have them love you, want to invite you to coffee, have you be their favorite designer because you really understand that handoff process? We talk a lot about that in the course. Also, wireframing, simplification, empathy mapping, all of the tools that a UX designer uses. We're going to talk about those. Problem solving and design thinking, how to make choices, when to make those choices, what are the right choices, what are industry standards, and what are kind of open for your interpretation. We'll talk a lot about that. And as well, passion and creativity, because I truly believe that this is an industry that is ripe for creative people who want to solve problems and are passionate about helping people. You will be creating desktop and mobile applications with the hopes of going out and landing positions and clients so you can actually create mobile applications, web applications, and software that help them in their daily lives. How many of us have multiple apps on our phone that help us constantly? I want you to be the person that creates those. And so that's what we're talking about today. We got a bunch of people in the chat who are joining us. How many people are in here right now? 113 online that have that 40% available to them. That's really fun. That's really, really exciting. A few things. Some more of the techniques you'll be learning throughout the course: testing, user flow diagrams, dev handoff, wireframes, UI design, research, prototyping, empathy mapping, design thinking, all of those things we already talked about. That is what we are going to do today. And so I'm going to jump off of my screen really quickly. We're going to chat just for a second, and maybe we even have a few questions coming in. And one question says, will there be scholarships for the course? No, not scholarships, but you do have exclusive access to that 40% discount, which is super duper huge. Jump on that as soon as you can, because it's, I mean, I'll tell you, it's like this course is like my favorite thing ever. And I'm not just saying that because like I created the course. I would not have created the course if Dribbble would not have said, we want to make sure there's mentorship. We want to make sure there's community. We want to make sure that they're plugged into hiring managers and networks at the end. We want to get people in the industry. I'm super passionate about that. Dribbble is to get that 40%. But Callie asked this question: will I be able to apply these ideas in my day-to-day work while taking the course? Or does it need to be finished fully before all comes together? Hey, if you want to just take pieces of the course and go, you could. I think it's best served from start to finish, because throughout the course, you're going to be learning in a chronological way that product design process. But as you learn each piece of this, each milestone or chapter of the course, you will immediately be able to start applying that. You'll immediately be able to start applying it to any current work that you're doing, any current clients or projects. You might even say, oh my gosh, have I not been doing that for years? It might be something that you learn and just adopt right away. These are great questions. Keep asking these questions. I would love to know, and maybe we could do a poll for this, who is currently working in the industry, who is applying for work in the industry, and who has never even gotten their foot in the door yet. I would love to know where you're at in your career right now. So maybe we'll pop that poll up on screen soon. And as we're doing that, we'll chat just a little bit more about what we're going to do today in today's session. We have 2 files for you, and we're going to get those to you here momentarily. But we do have a FigJam file because we use Figma for everything. And then we also have a community Figma file that we're going to get in, and you can design along with me. But I'm actually just going to really quickly, I'm going to grab the link for our FigJam file, and I'm going to post that in the chat. Boom. So if you see that in the chat, I want you to grab that right now. Figma.com/file/3D, whatever. You will be able, I see people jumping in right now. Yeah, and our poll has just gone up on screen. Are you working in the industry, applying for the industry, or are you working in a different industry and you want to get into the product design industry? I would love to hear your feedback in the poll. And as we do that, and we'll jump back into our FigJam file, we got a lot of results here. So we'll bring my screen up. Hopefully we could do that too. But we have a lot of people who are already currently working in the industry, which is really cool. So that's cool to see. All right, so you are now, we got little flies buzzing around in our FigJam file. It's so fun. We're going to start here. Before anybody starts touching things and moving things, let's be respectful. We are going to start here in the top. I'm going to jump into a little widget called Donut. We're going to choose a topic. Let's shuffle, and let's do a little bit of just FigJam sketching for a second. Other ways to use a donut box. I want everybody to come over to our little washi taped area here. Icebreaker drawings are heading in here. I'm going to select my pen and choose a color of my choosing. What's a different way we could use a donut box? We're just going to sketch a little bit and have some fun. You can get real 3-dimensional if you want. That's up to you. I'm going to do a little something like this. I'm going to draw my little donut box. Feel free, just draw along. Right now we are having fun. There's nothing right or wrong that you could do with your donut box. All right. So I like mine to be a little bit like this. Let's bring our donut box side down and across. And if somebody's going, Jesse, you're so good at drawing donut boxes, you're just messing with me, because I'm really, really not. All right, so here's my donut box. What else could we put inside our donut box? I know. What if our donut box actually held all the apps from our phone? So I'm just going to zoom in here really quickly. I'm just going to draw a bunch of icons for social media. Here's my Facebook app. Let me see what else can go in there. Can I draw a Twitter bird? I bet you I cannot, because that is pretty. I'm gonna have to look at the Twitter logo icon really quickly. Let's see how good I can do at the Twitter bird here. Here's a Twitter bird. I'm gonna do my wings and beep, 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 beep. This is the ugliest Twitter bird that ever existed. There's my little Twitter bird. What other apps can go on my phone? Big YouTube fan, obviously. So let's draw, instead of let's draw. Hey, let's even do some color. We'll mix some color up here. I hope you guys are drawing along with me. Here's my YouTube app right there. Let me see what else is going to go inside of it. Obviously my calendar, right? I use a lot of calendar stuff. So I'm going to grab my little eraser, and I'm just going to erase. Oh no, not the whole line. That's all right. Let's actually do this. We'll cheat a little bit. I'm just going to grab white, I'm just going to draw over it to get rid of that. Ooh, aren't we having fun just drawing and playing? This is pure icebreaker stuff, folks. You can't mess it up. It's all good. Okay, here's going to be my calendar. I use Fantastical, if anybody was wondering. That's what I use. All right, there's my little drawing. And look at all of you, just busy little bees having fun here in Figma. And this is really just, let's spend 2 minutes playing and exploring. How do you use a donut box, right? So it looks like somebody's making eggs. Is that scrambled eggs inside? What else we got? Somebody else is doing my thing and putting their apps inside. Somebody's just making a beautiful little washi tape box. Let me see. Somebody's putting, hopefully nobody's putting their broken dreams inside their donut box. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so you can keep drawing here and playing, but really, this is FigJam. If you've never used it, it's a digital whiteboard space. We use it in the course, and you're going to use it in, I think a lot of teams are using FigJam for brainstorming fun things, for understanding clients, for getting ideas out there and concepting. And we have people already over here playing with stuff in our space. And so I'm so sorry. I'm going to delete that stuff. And here we go, because we're going to talk about our next activity we'll do together. And this is called Crazy Eights. If you've never done Crazy Eights, the idea is to establish a goal, sketch out ideas quickly, and share, okay? Our goal today is going to be to design a home screen for an ambiguous social media app. The screen should aggregate different types of content, have fun, be creative, and your users should be able to see some posts. So here's what I want you to do is I'm going to, really quickly, I'm going to unlock, I'm going to drag one of these over here, and you can just drag as many as you want there. Take that guy right there, put your name in it, drag some versions out. Okay, grab a version of our little Crazy 8 board. Don't draw over other people's stuff. Be as respectful as you can on this messy FigJam file. Yep, and we will get started. I'm actually going to do a fun little thing inside. Whoa, washi tape madness. Let's be respectful. This is always the funnest and craziest parts of these sessions. I'm going to do 4 minutes on the timer. I'm going to press go, and we are now going. What you need to do right now is start to draw on your own space, not on everybody else's. I want you to just draw some wireframes, and here's how I do it. I have 8 spaces. I just immediately zoom in, and I start drawing my application screen like this. I'm going to do a mobile app today. And let's see, I'm going to do like maybe a little avatar right here, or like an icon and an avatar, probably a little bit of text. I'll do a wavy line to represent my text. And let's do like a big image like so. Actually, let's get rid of that. I'm going to do a big image and just go maybe here. We'll do like a horizontal scroll. So I'm going to push mine over, and then we'll have some little stats at the bottom of each of these. Let's do a different type of content. I don't know what that content is. I'm just going to do a horizontal scroll. Let's do another one. I actually like to speed this up really quickly and go like this. I just make this really janky, ugly frame, and I'll zoom out, and I will just duplicate this janky frame like in multiple spaces. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I've never used a tool like this, I'm so rushed. You don't have to feel rushed. You're doing just fine. You be you, you do you, and love your progress. It's all about the progress, right? I feel like I'm like doing a little bit of a painting show back in the 70s with some happy little trees right now. All right, let's do another version where instead of doing like a horizontal scroll, we'll do vertical scroll. Let's just do a full on beep, 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 beep. We have our little stats beneath our image. And yes, if you're asking, hey, how do I know that's an image? A lot of times in the industry, we'll put an X through to denote that something is an image. That's kind of a standard. I'm going to Command G group those all together, and I'll just leave those down the page. That's a really easy one to do right there. I actually really like that design, so I might bring that one over here. And let's get crazy. I'm going to take the whole thing. What if we shrink it down and do like, I don't know, like a little 2-up kind of like situation. I'll group those together and put those underneath. We're just playing with different aggregating of content. We got 2 minutes and 2 seconds left on our timer here in FigJam. We're trying to get all 8 drawn if we can. What if we do something real crazy? How about we go a little bit more TikTok-ish, and we'll reserve this for our status bar up top, and we'll reserve this. I'm just going to use a different color really quickly for like our pull bar at the bottom. But what if this entire thing was an image like in TikTok, and we just overlay, and I'll use like a different color. I'll overlay a couple of icons for our stats. Maybe that's like likes or saves or whatever. That's a way to do it. And then you'd be able to see more underneath. All right, I got 4 versions already. Not bad. Let's, in a minute 22, let's see if I can do 4 more. This is Crazy Eights. And the point of it is to be rushed and just create concepts and ideate in a quick way, right? And if you're like, I don't know how to concept or ideate quickly, a lot of times, if maybe you're wondering, it just comes with experience. It comes with doing activities and processes like this a lot more. I kind of like that last solution. What if we did kind of like a half screen version of that, where you could see 2 at a time? Is that kind of distracting? I don't know. We'll have to see. What if we did more of like content inside of like a Tinder card kind of like situation here? Oh, we could aggregate some content that way. And each of these are going. And see how when I say Tinder card, like I'm just thinking about already established patterns I've seen. I'm using those as examples. What if we do like full bleed video here and then like really tiny pieces of content here? And I'm just going to grab that and I'm going to duplicate, grab these, duplicate. Oh, it's so ugly, but it's okay. I got 19 seconds left. What if I do one where I just do nothing but, actually, let's do that. Well, oh gosh, if we're going to get crazy here, I'm going to group it together. What if I just do nothing but tiny content across the entire screen? Oh my gosh, I did all 8. Here's my 8 versions. 2, 1, we're done. That's it, folks. That is it for our Crazy Eights. What did you guys draw? Let's look. Let's see. Look at all your beautiful drawings going on here. Jonathan F's got some great wireframes. I'm probably showing his work right now. He's going, ooh, don't display my work. I'm so embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. Your stuff's awesome. I love your work. Look at all these amazing drawings. We still got some fun donut boxes happening. Oh, I like this. This is a fun concept, like maybe a side panel. It's a little Slack-esque, or a little Discord-esque, right? Where we have separate spaces with content. Interesting. But again, see how I'm using these patterns. I'm going to jump off my screen really quickly. You guys keep on sketching, keep fig jamming if you want to. This is fun. But notice how we are actually like just ideating really, really quickly, right? We're creating concepts. This is what we want to teach in the course. We want to teach you a bunch of art. We do entire modules and sections on established patterns, common patterns, things that people use. We map them to already established applications. Hey, look, here's what Instagram is doing. Here's what Twitter is doing. Here's why they're doing it. Here's why this pattern works. Here's what it works for. We talk about a lot of those things on top of just color, typography, wireframes, layout, structure. We do a lot of those things. And if you're going, okay, well, I might be able to kind of design a screen, but how do I design entire flows, entire systems and applications that all work together? Well, let's jump to my screen. And as we jump to my screen, you can now open up the second file that we have for you. This is our intro to product design file. And Madeline just posted that in the chat. So if you haven't gotten this one, jump over to the Figma community. You should be able to download it, open it up in Figma or duplicate it, and you'll have your own version of this. And again, people are still drawing and having all sorts of fun inside of FigJam. That's cool. And if you want to just watch and kind of drink a cup of coffee, I got you. I've had my coffee for the morning as well. We have a couple of different pages over here on the left-hand side of Figma, right? We have the thumbnail, the presentation, but really what we're going to be talking about today is flows, wireframes, and UI. So let's start with our flows. We spend entire sections of the course learning how to make sense of large-scale systems and applications. How do we map out what the user needs to do? And this is what we call user flow. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. Let's do a little poll. Who's using user flow diagrams and who's never used a user flow diagram? I want to hear, yes, I love them, I use them, or nope, never heard of it. Don't even, it's a totally like foreign language to me. I would love to see that poll answered. And while you guys are answering that poll, let's just pause really quickly because we do have a couple of questions. This one from Adam says, I've used Sketch most of my career. What are the big differences between Sketch and Figma? And how hard is it to make the switch? That is actually a fantastic question. And the reason we use Figma in this course, because I think it's actually probably one of the best design tools right now, especially for digital product designers, not just graphic designers, UI designers, but for digital product designers. And to make the switch from Sketch to Figma, it's actually fairly easy. It's going to be a really similar user interface, really similar tools. It's going to feel familiar. It's just going to feel like maybe you upgraded and moved and jumped into a faster car that has more kind of bells and whistles there. And you'll learn those bells and whistles. That's like FigJam, easy to learn. We did it in like 5 minutes, and you experimented with it, you played with it, you got it. But there's going to be some added features inside of Figma that really make the life of the UI and UX designer or the digital product designer about 50 times easier, and it doesn't feel like you have to fight the system. It's much easier to create design systems, pattern libraries, prototypes. It's got smart animations, so if you want to do really impressive things, we can bring in GIFs, we can bring in Lottie animations. You can do all sorts of stuff that's really impressive in Figma. You can't do in Sketch. That's why we use it in the course. It's going to be a pretty easy switch, a little bit of a learning curve, but I'll be right there with you. Your mentors will be right there with you. You'd be like, mentor, I don't understand how to do this in Figma. They'll be like, oh, let me tell you. That's a great question. Inez says, by when do you have to pay the course fees? And if you pay with installments, you do have to pay for the entire course, I believe. Madeline's going to, nope, there are installment payments. That's right. So you can pay in installments. But when do you have to start paying? At least the first installment before the course begins. And that course is coming up pretty soon, the next cohort. I believe I think we're 7 weeks out or something, or 6 weeks out from the next cohort starting. So you have a little bit of time to think about it, but don't miss out on that 40%. All right, let's jump back into my screen. Let's talk some more about user flow diagrams. We'll answer some more questions at the end because I love those questions. And if you like this interactive kind of model where you get to ask questions and interact with me and with creative professionals, not only do you get your mentors, but you'll have multiple live sessions with me through the course with other design superstars like MDS, and Dan Mall makes some like guest appearances. Brad Frost, like the granddaddy of design systems, made some like cameos. Like you'll get live sessions like this throughout the course every week, which are pretty rad. So with that being said, does user flow diagrams, a user flow diagram, and we had a poll that went out. Let's just check really quickly. What's your level of design experience? Oh, we didn't do that one yet. That's fine. Let's keep cruising. So the idea of a user flow diagram is to diagram how the user starts their journey of a flow and ends their journey of the flow. And what we want to do is establish a really simple flow. So we don't want to say, hey, the user opens up Instagram and they can do 75 things. Let's map all those out. We want to map out, let's say I'm a user and I want to post an image, or in this case, on our screen here, we have a sign up or sign in flow. We want the user to enter our app, and then they're going to be moved somewhere else. Most likely, when they enter the app, they'll be moved into a home or public screen. Now from there, and there are always questions about user flow diagrams. How do I make them? Do they have to look a certain way? There's a lot of freedom in user flow diagrams, but there are a couple of industry standards. For instance, lines, these trails tracking in between, are pretty standard, right? Some sort of rectangle representing a screen. I like to put my little browser dots on them. That's just me personally. You do you. But another industry standard would be this decision diamond that says, okay, once the user is on home public, like screen, they do need to make a decision. And then also we have tags, these tags that drip or attach to our connection lines. So what's the decision they have to make? Log in or sign up. Great. If they hit log in, where are they going to go? If the user has hit login, they'll be directed to the login page. And if they hit sign up, they'll move to the sign up page. Now, once they sign up, then they'll be given an account and they'll be redirected to the login page. See how we're kind of mapping the flow or the journey of how our user moves through our application, specifically for them to accomplish a task. This is the difference. People ask all the time, what's the difference between a UI designer and a product designer? Or what's the difference between a UX designer and a product designer? Product designer cares about the product as a whole, but hyper focuses on all the individual problems that make up the application that solve the user's problems, right? So the product designer thinks, I need to think about the user's journey from A to B, and I need to think about their journey from C to D, and I need to think about this other journey from this place to this place, and how all of those come together. It would be one thing to write one page of a book. It's another to write a chapter of a book. It's another to write in like all the chapters that make up one book, but it's a completely different thing to write an entire series of books. And as the author, knowing that this character is going to die in the very last book, and you've already started writing that in the first book, and it's 10-book series, right? Think of Game of Thrones, Harry Potter. That's a totally different thing to see the entire project at a 10,000-foot view. That's what product designers do. We think about the 10,000-foot view, we're able to zoom in on each individual page and letter and word, all right? So that's what product designers really do. After our user logs in, right? Then he's going to get redirected somewhere else. He's going to get pushed somewhere else. Now, it could be where to? Maybe to a dashboard experience, and then they'll be given possibly another decision that they need to make. Now, inside of Figma, if you need like more trails or tags or anything like that, I can just hold down the Option key. I'm going to drag out and do a duplicate here because they might be then given a decision. That decision would be, or actually before we get there, let's do this. Here's our decision. Did they log in correctly? How about that? Our decision would be, did they log in correctly or did they log in incorrectly? If they logged in correctly, we will take them to the dashboard. That makes a lot more sense. If they log in incorrectly, we need to then cycle them around to a forgot password screen or like experience of some kind. And then after we're done doing that, we'd be able to lead them. If they forgot their password, we could like redirect them somewhere else to go sign up yet again and do something like that. And so this is just the start of a user flow diagram. Now, not only is this fantastic for us to understand what the user needs, but later on, these will actually come back into play as we hand off our designs to our engineering team. Imagine you're an engineer, imagine you're a developer, and a designer comes to you and says, hey, here's what my sign-in flow looks like. Here's how it has to go. They're thinking programmatically. They're thinking about the logic. Well, what happens when it clicks from here to there? Now, if you're really smart and a really good designer, we might have set up some really great prototypes. We've wired our screens together. We can press play, and which we'll do in a second. We'll talk about it. And we can create these clickable prototypes where our developers can go through. But that's really zoomed in. On top of our design and prototype, we probably also want to provide them with a map, a user flow diagram, a map that allows them to see, oh, I see. They're going from here to there and here to there. Now, what's also really interesting and really cool is once you've done this, we'll take these as designers, and we talk about this in the course. We'll take our user flows, we'll take those and move them into the wireframe mode. We'll design all the screens that are represented, like our home public screen or our login screen. And then we might even come in to our login screen, and we might take our design later on after we're all done and be even more helpful to our engineers by creating what's called a wire flow, where I'm going to take my wireframe, and instead of just having the generic box here, I might actually replace it with my actual wireframe. Now my developers can see at a 10,000 foot glance all the actual wireframe screens represented inside of a map, a legend, a key that leads them through every single step of the process. That way my engineers know, oh, when they get here, this is the content that actually needs to be on the screen. Now there's a bunch of in-between states, and we could talk about all of those. We talk about them in the course, but once we've created our user flow diagrams, that's when we move into wireframing. We do a lot of fun stuff inside of the course, actually, where we take some really popular applications and we show you the wireframe of it. I've just done gray boxes and just basic lines and text and said, what is this application? Because the truth is, wireframes look fairly unimpressive. They're supposed to look fairly unimpressive, but they're supposed to take that flow, that understanding of where the user needs to go. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, sorry. And then they start to lay the content and the structure on each of those screens. See how we're writing this big, massive book series, but we're drilling down and saying, okay, now what happens on this book? What happens in this chapter? What happens on this page? What happens in each of these moments? That's what a product designer does. And the wireframes are starting to narrow down on that experience, what the user is experiencing in each individual screen. And so we're going to teach you this inside of the course. And with that being said, I'm going to jump over to the poll. What did it say? We have do you use user flow diagrams? 30% said, yes, I love them. 47%, I know about them. They're a little bit foreign to me. 22% of people are going, what on earth is this dude talking about? I've never seen that in my life. Hey, that's okay. And that with this poll up, it makes me want to highlight the fact that this course is for everybody. This course is for the 31% or the 40% now that says they love them and use them. You might learn some new techniques and methods you've never used before. You might see how this fits into a larger product design process, and it might kind of restoke your fire for really engaging that process and not forgetting parts of that process. This might help you as a person who knows them to become an advocate in your workplace or with your projects or clients. To those of you that don't know very much about them or don't know them at all, you're going, is this course for me? This seems over my head. We start from the very basics, and you'll have that curriculum that'll explain it to you in detail. We'll walk through it with you. You'll have exercise files, practice files, and then you'll have your mentor and your mentor groups, your cohort groups, where you get to hang out with 10 or 12 other creatives just like you who are going through the course, and hands-on time with your mentors, not to mention office hours and those live sessions each week. That's why this course, in my opinion, is the best course that you could possibly take if you want to become a product designer, because you don't just watch the video and try to figure it out. You watch a lot of course and curriculum video, and then you take that into your mentor sessions, and then it's restoked again and reiterized again in those live sessions. You just get this time. It's also why we slowed down the course to 16 weeks, so you really dive deep and learn. So yes, this course is for everybody. I highly recommend, no matter what level you are at, that this course very much so could be for you. We got a couple of questions. Camila says, how much individually do the projects from the course allow in order for this to reflect into unique and competitive portfolios? I'll tell you, that's a great question. There are 3 separate provided case studies that you can actually work on. One of them is the dog walking application, and there's a few others like an email application and some others. You can choose one or many of those. You also have the freedom to create your own case study. So you can say to your mentor, hey, I'm really passionate about coffee, and so I'd love to create a coffee application. They will work with you instead of the provided case studies to create your own. And then throughout the course, you'll actually build your case studies. You'll build your projects. You'll learn how to make them look absolutely amazing for your Dribbble case studies. You'll then present those, and you can use those to start getting hired, start going on interviews and talking through your work. And so, yes, 100%, you can customize these to reflect your own competitive portfolio. And JP asked, do students get a job with this course? What's the employment rate for the students? I tell you, I don't know the exact rate, but I know that there is a lot of success stories from the previous cohorts. We had people get hired by Capital One, by Facebook, by big companies, as well as some people just getting freelance work and client work. And I'm not going to lie, I actually hired a couple of students to join me and do some client work as well. So what's the hiring rate? I don't know the exact stat, but I tell you, the work, the caliber of work that's come out of it, and the fact that you're connected into Dribbble's hiring network. You're actually, a lot of our students in the previous cohorts, and I believe this session as well, will get hands-on time with Jessica Coe, who was a previous hiring manager at Google. She's now her own founder of a company, and she will lay it down during career prep week and just help you prepare for interviews, for portfolios, for talking through your work and what is out there in the industry. And so this is a huge leg up on the competition. This is a huge way for you to break through the white noise of the industry and actually have a bit of an X factor and a lot to offer when you go on those interviews and you start sending out your portfolios. So yes, a lot of people are getting hired from the course, getting hired in junior positions, in entry level positions, and in some of them just full blown like mid-level product designer positions, which is epic. It's super great. So that's a great question. Let's jump back in. We'll take a look at some of the wireframe techniques. I'm going to present my screen, and boom, we are almost there. Cool. And then we're going to get that up on the screen for you. Let's jump back in. Let's learn some of these techniques, right, that we talked about. Now, when we were doing our sketching over here, you can see how messy these wireframes can become, right? And so here's a great example. I love this also inside of FigJam. I could take something like this. I could grab the whole thing, group it together, Command C, and I can bring it into my actual project, right? And so this is the start. This is a messy wireframe. And then it starts to become a little bit more of a streamlined wireframe, right? So we have, this is what we call a lo-fi wireframe and a hi-fi, low fidelity, high fidelity wireframes. It all starts with a sketch. You want to do this on a napkin in like a diner, you want to do this in a notebook, you want to do this on an iPad, you want to do it in Figma, whatever. I will say that another reason I love Figma is because we do actually have Figma for the iPad, where you can actually bring up Figma and with an Apple Pencil sketch things out, which is like, it's super fun. It's really, really great. It cuts down the need for having to do it with a mouse if that's not your bag, or doing it in a notebook. It's kind of the best of both worlds. Just a little plug. I don't work for Figma. I just really like the tool. Okay. So you can see how this kind of evolves, right? I had some ideas like maybe an icon here, an avatar here, some text, and maybe we start creating these kind of cards where you have your information, and then let's lay some other cards down below. Obviously, this is the this is the one taken to the next step. Once we have these wireframes, and when you have wireframes, again, most things should be just kind of black and white, gray boxes and shapes. This is a great example of wireframing these things up and then immediately turning them into a clickable prototype. How do we do that? Well, once we would design our designs here, or our wireframes here, and you're using all the basic tools inside of Figma, like you're using the text tool and you're using the shape tool and rectangles, lines, arrows, all that kind of stuff. And we could talk on and on, like in the course, about how to use size typography and what types of patterns should we use. You'll learn all that in the course. But once we've created something like this, then what we want to do is kick over to the prototype tab, and you'll see these little blue lines. All these blue lines are our wires in between our screens that have our prototype interactions on them. You can, and to create any of those inside of Figma, you can literally click on any one of the areas and you'll see this little blue node kind of pop up, a plus symbol, right? You can grab that blue node and you can just drag it to anywhere you want to go. Like, let's say we want, for some reason, Twitter to go over here. That's a bad experience because that's broken, but okay, let's try it. Once you do that, we have some interaction details that come up. We say, hey, do we want this to be on click, maybe on drag while we hover over it? You know, when the mouse enters, it goes down. Now on mobile, we don't have a lot of hover, so let's just do on click. We want to navigate to, but we have some other options for our interactions. Like, do we want to open up an overlay? Those are cool. We can swap overlays. We can close overlays. We can go back. You can do anchor links by scrolling to things. You can open actual links up on the web. But for this one, we want to navigate to that sign up filled form. And then you want to choose, what's your animation look like? Well, right now it's set to instant. We could make it dissolve. We get a nice little example of what that animation will look like as we hover over it. Let's try, how about move in, move out? I think that one's a little bit more successful. And there's differences between pushing in and moving in. You can choose which direction you want them to go. Do we want to smart animate? Do we want to add some nice easing to it? And what's the timing on it? Once we've done that, you can see we've established that interaction. It lives up here on the right-hand side of our panel, and we can always press play and we can get our prototype. Now, when I click on places here in my prototype, all the blue that flashes there says those are the actual clickable places. So look, I could click on Twitter and we get our interaction baked right in. This is what we actually want to create. We want to create a clickable prototype that has our links. It's walking through the flow. It's filling all the information. It's testing all of the functionality we've created. And once we do that, we actually want to share our prototype, right? We want to invite anybody with the link, right? Maybe we want to password protect it, and we want to copy that link, and anybody with the link can view. And I would send this off in an email saying, hey, you know, can you please test this for me? Try to log in, or act like you forgot your password and try to recover your password. That's your goal. That's the testing that we're going to do. In the course, we talk about some real easy, like guerrilla testing, kind of like ground level, easy stuff you can do to get your prototypes tested. And that's what we would do. We would spend a lot of time prototyping, figuring it out, testing it before we actually move into high fidelity design, which we're going to just like kind of turkey in the oven, turkey out of the oven right now, move into our high fidelity design. All right, so let's move back over to a design tab. Let's spend a little bit of time doing some high fidelity design, shall we? Because now we've taken that simple login, we've applied some color, we've created like a primary color. And if we wanted to maybe even do something like get some other colors that we could use, we might actually, I'm going to draw a rectangle, hit I for my little color picker, and I'll establish that there. And I'm going to grab a plugin inside of Figma, and this one's called Color Scale Generator. I'm going to use Color Scale Generator to give me 10 steps of this color. And let's do 10. We'll create, and boom, now we have our color, plus we have 10 steps. That means our color is here, and it stepped its way all the way to dark, and it stepped its way all the way out to light. Why did I do such a thing? Well, I might want to use these colors later on. Like, for instance, I know that down here in my user interface, I have like this button, and it's kind of using like this really light neutral color, right? And you can see it's actually like our color just drifted like really, really light. So I could actually create one more step of this if I want to. This is our color. It's just being lightened. Let's add another layer of color on top of it, white. And you can see if I drop it all the way to 100%, really, it's 100% white now. But as I back it off, I'm going to get closer to that color that's above it. So if I make it really neutralized like this, boom, now we have a color, and maybe that's the color that would be my neutral in the background. See how close that is? So we can create color scales. We've gone through in our high fidelity, we've created a little bit of like some drop shadows even inside. I like to make my drop shadows separate and not actually use the drop shadows provided inside. That's a personal preference. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of flavor to our design, right? Let's get a little bit of high fidelity. We've added some color. We have a navigation. We have our status bar, which is a component. We talk all in the course about components, variants, creating systems. But why don't we just create, we'll do some imagery right now. I'm going to hit Command/. That opens up my quick picker inside of Figma. And I'm going to look for the Unsplash plugin. I'm going to open up Unsplash, and there it is. Just give me something abstract in there. That'll be nice, like that. And I'm going to grab these, and why don't I put some portraits in there? Beautiful. Okay, let's do some new portraits. I need something a little bit brighter. Just keep clicking until I get what I like. That works for me. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. Got Mandy right here. I'm going to duplicate Mandy by just holding down Option and dragging Mandy down. That way Mandy is the same person here as up there. Now, also, you'll see some fun little kind of like things pop up on all of your shapes. We could create a pie chart out of Mandy if we really wanted to, right? We can tuck this in and out and do some fun stuff, but we don't want to do that. We talk about all of the different controls inside of the course, and now we've created a card. Now, why don't we do this? One thing I love about Figma, and this is a different, somebody who's asking a sketch in Figma question, is one of the things that Figma does is it really uses something called frames, not just artboards, but frames. And I love that about Figma. It allows us to grab all the contents inside. Let's grab all of this. Boom, boom, boom. And we even have the shadow. Yes, let's do all of this stuff, right? I'm going to drag all of this out. I'm going to hit A. That would be artboard or frame. I'm going to drag a frame around it, and I'm just going to use my little button up here in the top right to resize to fit around the content. Okay, actually, I'm going to get rid of that. We don't need that one. And let's resize it one more time. And now we have a card that just fits all of the content. That's super nice. We'll call this card. And why don't we make a component out of it, since we'll probably be reusing these cards quite a bit. I'm just going to hit our Create Component button. And now we have a master component. Now, instead of having all of this stuff inside, what we might want to do is get rid of all of it and just go into our assets, and you can see now we have a local component. We can just drag our component inside, right? We can center it on our screen. And now those components are, no matter what happens, if I change it here, like for instance, if I move Mandy's avatar down, it's going to move it everywhere. You can see how helpful this can be if I have a feed going on here. And I'll move all these to the back so that my navigation stays on top. But you can see how helpful this would be. We want to learn how to work smarter, not harder, as product designers. So if I move my image, it's going to move it everywhere. If I change my shadow in one spot, like here in my master component, for instance, let's go and find our shadow. If I drop my shadow lower, it's going to drop it everywhere, which is super duper nice. But you can always come in actually here and open up our Unsplash plugin again and insert another random photo inside, or at least usually you can. We're having a little bit of problems right now. There we go. So we can grab these and we can actually change the instances of these, but it's not changing the master. See how if I mess with our master component, we're keeping the dimensions, the sizes, but we're able to override certain elements inside. That's super nice, right? So maybe what we want is we can start playing with our component, and let's shrink it down a little bit. Maybe that's what we want, because we want to do that more of that horizontal scroll. Let's build these here. Beautiful. I love that. Why don't we actually take these? I'm going to grab both of these and drag them outside of my artboard. And I really like that. I'm going to do about 16 pixels of spacing. I'm a big fan of the Google 8-pixel grid, or Material Design 8-pixel grid. We talk all about columns and layouts and grids inside of our course. Super fun. So I'm just going to do another one at 16 pixels. And I'm just going to grab that Unsplash plugin one more time. And I'm just going to insert something minimal into each one of those. Beautiful. I'm going to grab all of my instances and hit Shift A on my keyboard. That's going to put them inside of an auto layout. Oh my gosh, if I had time today to talk about auto layout, which is basically a big stylable and controllable container that I'm able to actually change things, like all the spacing at one time I can change. And anytime I add more elements inside my auto layout, it's actually just going to pop it right in, which is really, really nice. Let's take that auto layout and bring it inside. Let's turn on some horizontal scrolling, shall we? All right, so I'm going to take my auto layout, and one thing I need to do is I need to shrink the size of the container down. Because if I don't do that in my prototype, you'll see I really want to turn on scrolling. Let's go horizontal scrolling. It'll give me this little error. Why? Well, for scrolling to work, it says the frame needs to actually be tighter or smaller than the width of all the content. So there's somewhere for it to actually scroll. So let's just drop that in there like that. Beautiful. Now, when we go back horizontal scrolling, we have no error. Let's just go ahead and look at our flow really quickly. Let's look at our screen. Excuse me. We've turned on horizontal scrolling. So we should be able to now scroll our prototype back and forth. Look, I'm grabbing with my mouse and I'm dragging over. We get that natural kind of flow. It even has a little bit of natural bounce at the end. Super nice. All right, now we are actually spicing up our design and bringing things into play. Now let's do one more thing before we finish today, because you could spend lots of time and use auto layout and create more of these notifications over here. Shift A, and then let's just keep adding lots of notifications inside. That's super nice. We could use more of those plugins, which we talk about plugins in the course, to add more like visual presence to like the rest of our screens. Let's put another portrait in there. Look how quickly we're filling out our design. Doesn't it look nice? I do want to explore one more thing, and that is to actually take this card and I want to create a variant of this card. I really, really do. So I think what we're going to do is just go up to the top here and hit add variant, and Figma will actually plug in or create a new variant of this component. Same component, same pieces involved. So I can call on same asset. I can just use the second variant of it instead. Why don't we create a shorter version of this where we bring our image up really small, where we bring up our shadow, and I think our icon is all messed up here. So let's bring our icon up. We'll grab all of our stats down below here. That's fine. We'll bring all those up under it as well. This is just going to be our shorter version. Heck, we'll just get rid of, in our shorter version, we'll get rid of all the icons. How about that? So this will just be kind of like no icons. Beautiful. We're grabbing all of our icons here in our layers file, and we'll even get rid of the more. Beautiful. Let's get rid of that. Okay, love that. Okay, now let's grab we're going to grab that, and we're just kind of resizing things out right there. Okay, and our shadow needs to come down. We moved it because there's some scaling happening. That's fine. Now, we're going to call this one, what are we going to call it? We don't want to call it variant 2. That's boring. Let's rename this, okay? So we'll call this one small, and we'll call this one large over in our variant panel, okay? And what does that mean for us? That means I can come back into my design, okay? And if I want to fix up this one, which I do because my views icon is real funky. So let's just fix that really quickly. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Let's actually go now into our assets panel, and we'll drag out another version of our card asset, and we'll choose, do we want the small one or the large one? Let's take the small one and pop it in. Really nice. Let's move it behind, or before we do that, why don't we just do the same thing? We'll duplicate 16 pixels out. Beautiful. Shift A, add into our auto layout, copy paste. We have a bunch of them. Bring that entire frame into our design, and command left bracket will actually move it in our layers panel to put it behind. Look, we actually kind of created our wireframe, didn't we? Let's go back to our wireframes. Look, I'm going to just copy this, bring it into our UI. Let's move this over, get it out of the way. We'll paste this right here. It looks really similar, doesn't it? Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Last thing, we'll move the size of our shape in here. And in prototype, we'll make sure we turn on horizontal scrolling. Let's just share it one more time. We're able to go this way. Beautiful. We're able to do this one. Now we're not able to vertically scroll. So why don't we just really quickly put those in? We don't really have time. We could put those in another artboard or another frame. Look, we could just draw a frame onto our screen. Right? So our frame is there, and we can just tuck those two cards or those two batches of cards inside, make that one scrollable. We would have horizontal and vertical scrolling, but I feel like that's all the time we have for today because we have to get to some questions and answers. All right, so I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to answer some of these questions. I hope I didn't move too fast because I only have an hour to spend with you guys today, but I do want you to really consider jumping in the course because we spend countless hours going over stuff like this. In my case study, our case study projects that we do together, our capstone projects, we actually spend, some of those streams that I do are like hours long, multiple hours long, where I go nitty gritty in detail, each and every one, and you can design along with me. You're going to cover all of these things: visual design, UX design, wireframing, research, techniques, and you'll be able to ask questions. So speaking of questions, somebody says, can we see some previous students' work? Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to open up some of that previous students' work. And while we're doing that, I'm going to answer another question. When does the 40% link expire? That is a great question. I would bet that Madeline's going to just chime in with something on when those expire, right? So, okay, I'm going to jump in really quickly and get some of this work out there. Do you need to take a 4-week UI design introduction course first as a prerequisite? You don't need to, but that's actually a really, really great course. And you could definitely check that one out. And if you want to, you can. If you feel like you need a precursor, if you're like, ooh, I'm super rusty or I don't know anything, you could assess it and let me know what you think. But I don't think you have to because we cover a lot of that stuff. But the reason that 4-week one by Mr. Bufa, I believe his name is, was created is because some of our students said like, oh, maybe a warm up would be nice. And so I'm bringing up a bunch of case studies, especially our dog walking app by some of our favorite students. So I'm going to bring those up on my screen right now. Here we go. All right. This first case study is by Pit Pauly. This is his Wago dog walking app. You know, what I really love is that like each one of these pieces of work, they're slightly different, right? Like there's no set way to do it. They all went about solving the problem different ways, and they have different branding, different style. And so he lays out this entire case study, really, really nicely done, really nice work. You can see I think like some of these case studies are going to have great examples of like really some of the students' strong suits. Like I think his use of color, super minimal, super clean, very modern. He's using a lot of common patterns and useful patterns like swipe up cards. Definitely like a beautiful example. Here's another one of our dog walking applications. This one's by Hari. And she did a little bit more of like a bright, fun one, but you can see like user research, user personas created, user flows. Hey, do these look familiar? I think they do. She's doing her lo-fi like wireframes, and then implementing them into some really beautiful, like high fidelity design. We talk about like using color, primary, secondary, tertiary, call to actions, like form fields, how to build and design those. So really, really beautiful stuff here. Look how in depth, in detail these things are. Maps, how to create like horizontal and vertical scrolling maps that you can use, interface patterns of cards, common interactions, buttons, call to actions. This is like the rule of thumbs where we keep most main call to actions bottom right. That's why we have things like bottom navigation tab bars like this, because they're closer to everybody's fingers. You learn all of these little kind of like key secrets and like kind of crucial industry standards. And look, it's a beautiful case study. Like take this to go get hired, start applying with stuff like this. Here's another one. This is a totally different one. This is not a dog walking application. This is some work shared by one of our students. And this is by Angela Shipano. And it says the design is simple, clean, visually appealing, just implementing some beautiful illustrations. But the use of color here, again, really, really nice stuff. Let's go like a local coffee shop mobile app UI design. This is our students just flexing, just straight up flexing their design muscles and just having fun, like just exploring, like probably did the branding themselves using some horizontal scrolling, like chip navigation at the top, but getting really fun and clever, like with the color and the implementation. Here's another one called Peer Drop. Oh, this is hireable work, you guys. This is by Saeed, all-in-one grocery delivery application. Let's just kind of bring this up. He's just doing a little bit of like an onboarding screen, implementing some illustrations. These could be Lottie like integrations. So these actually like animate. He's probably using some smart animate on the prototype. I'd be willing to bet. This one is actually one of the case studies from the course. This is the like the Bitcoin like trading and wallet application capstone project that we have Patrick Eustace actually did some work on. Patrick also did a rockin', I know because I've talked to Patrick actually. He did our a chat style like mail system that's a little less like traditional, a little bit more Slack-esque. That was another one of our capstone projects, and a beautiful case study for his dog walking application. So again, here's his Bitfold cryptocurrency application, super futuristic, super fun. Case study really came together, looking really, really nice. I like the colors, the implementation there. But look at this. This is his dog walking application. Actually built out a pattern library for it. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, so that is just some samples of the work, high caliber, high quality. And that was Kate's question. Holly, Nina, do you need to take, we already answered that one. How much of the course is UX versus UI? I would say it's actually a pretty good split. You're going to spend the first 4 to 5 weeks probably doing pretty much UX work, talking about the product design process, the life cycle, researching, sketching, testing, prototyping, user flow diagrams, empathy mapping. You're going to do a lot of UX work for the first, I would say, 4 to 5 weeks. Then you're going to spend another 4 to 5 weeks really highly engaged on UI design. We're going to talk about typographic scale, rhythm, layout, typography, font selection, color usage, basic design principles like contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity, how they all come together, UI patterns, prototyping, and then like animating and doing a lot of stuff like that. And you'll spend a few weeks at the end, really like 3 or 4 weeks doing capstone projects, career prep, as well as a few other things. So that's kind of how it's split. I might be a little bit off on those, but it's pretty close. It's a really, really nicely paced course and sectioned out. We have a few more minutes before we are over our time. Do we receive a certificate at the end of this course? Yes, you do. And you also get a really fun and amazing tag on your Dribbble profile that says you are a course graduate. If you have like that Dribbble Pro account and then maybe a course graduate tag, it really says something. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, you get a certificate. I find Jessie's skills in Figma to be superb. Awesome to learn the right skills in Figma. Thank you very much, Kay. I appreciate the love. I just love Figma. I love designing. I love making products that help people and work. So I just get really passionate about it. I get really stoked about it. I don't know if you could tell. Gina asked some questions about Adobe XD. Let's answer Craig's first. Are there other classes that might dovetail nicely into this class? I want to confirm that this course is a precursor to a more involved course. Yes. If so, when can we learn more about a more involved course? This is the more involved course. This is the big guy. This is the 16 weeks where you come out the other end from zero to hero, ready to start applying for jobs if you want. I recommend that 4-week course on UI design if you're interested. If you want something even before that, I do have a YouTube channel filled with videos on UI UX design. You can just binge watch those. Get you a nice glass of wine and some kettle corn, lay down at night and just binge watch some YouTube stuff that I put out. But I do a lot of stuff there as well. And you'll see my style of teaching. You'll see a lot of similar things. The course is just packaged with the mentors, with the community, with the hiring network all together. It's really like a phenomenal experience. Do we address accessibility in design? Lightly, not a whole lot, because that's outside the scope of the course. But we do recommend some resources and some things. And if you have accessibility questions, anything that's not covered in the course or in the video curriculum, your mentors will answer. They can talk you through. So you go, I really am passionate about accessibility. And we have mentors who are lead product designers at startups, at big companies, and they'll be able to talk you through and answer any of those burning questions that you have. Let's see. And Daniel, and this will be our last question because we're out of time. If you're already a few years into the industry, how does this course one up your game? I love that question. I think this course is going to re-solidify process. I think it's going to talk a lot about documentation, process, the product design process and life cycle, how to be a leader in that product design process and not just a doer or a yes man, yes woman, but instead somebody who challenges preconceived notions. You might learn processes and styles and maybe some techniques inside of Figma or ways of thinking you've never thought about before. And especially if you're in the industry, I know one thing that everybody in this industry suffers or struggles with is dev handoff. We spend time talking about documentation, pattern libraries, dev handoff, some helpful tips and tricks in that process as well. And so I think that if you are in the industry, and yeah, I think it's going to level up your game. I think it could be very, very helpful to you. I am a lifelong student. So even though I am a teacher of this course, I still take courses. I think everybody should be taking courses. Be a lifelong learner. Be somebody who wants to constantly level up your game. Otherwise, you become a dinosaur. I don't want to be a dinosaur, so I'm taking courses right now. I'm signed up for the 4-week UI design course just to see how he does it, because I'd love to learn his techniques. And so I just think everybody should try something new, and always consider leveling up your game. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today, for spending time checking out this course. Again, I highly encourage it. I'm just so passionate about this course. I would love to say that I was part of a course that helped put successful, well-rounded product designers out into the world. As every product designer that gets out into the world and starts solving real problems makes happier users, just making a better world for all of us. So I'm just proud to be a part of it. Thank you guys for being here today. Thanks for having me and designing along with me. Hopefully we'll see you in the course.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Jesse is an absolutely incredible design educator. You just got a glimpse of it just then, and he will be doing a couple of live sessions within the course. So if you take the course, you'll be learning from him live as well as learning from him in those video content. So take advantage of the 40% discount. I've just linked it again in the chat. I'm going to be sending you an email later today. It will have the discount, it will have this recording, and it will have the email that you could contact us on. That's education@dribbble.com. If you have any questions about the course, just email us. Registration is going to close on September 19th. So you've got 5 weeks to register, and then the course kicks off on October 3rd. So don't miss your chance to come on in, take advantage of the discount, take advantage of Jesse's videos, and then also the mentors throughout the course. Email us with any questions. Thank you all so much for giving up an hour of your time to learn with us today, and hope to see you in the course. Jonathan says just enrolled. Amazing. See you in Slack, Jonathan, and speak to you soon.